autopilot as a defense mechanism. So understand that when you are an autopilot and you act unconscious and stuff like that, it means that you don't have to look at certain things and make rational decisions and accept certain hard truths that don't make you feel that good. A lot of the times people just go unconscious because they want to freaking defend themselves, because it's like bro, we all seen the Matrix movie, bro, where the one guy is like he know it's the Matrix, and it's like, but he want to go back inside the Matrix because the truth is too hard to accept. So he'd rather be in the autopilot, unconscious stuff. You feel me? And it's like you can't do that, bro. And I'm gonna tell you why you can't do that. Cause people who be like it's all God's will and stuff like that and don't accept that they have free will, some just really don't think they have free will, and some would just rather let it be God's will. Cause when they make mistakes, it was God's will. But guess what? When you make mistakes, it's like a lot of the times you just act on autopilot. And a lot of times, if you were to just face the facts of being a conscious human being, you may have been like, dang, this is pretty bad, but I gotta accept it. Because a lot of times stuff that is quote unquote bad could feel good for you, but you'd rather act unconscious and be an autopilot and not accept the facts of certain things. So it's like you act like it was unconscious, you just randomly just slipped up, and it's like, no, you gotta become conscious and be like, yeah, this is that. Here's how I must act with inside the situation. You must be aware and be a rational thinker and accept the facts of certain situations. Because it's like this, bro. Imagine there's like, okay, there's like a little spike joint you gotta walk across, right? Some people could walk across spikes without getting stabbed. But here's the thing though, that takes a lot of practice and training. And if they do get stabbed, they would feel it. So imagine you have two options, right? You have to walk across this little spike thingamabobber, right? And you could choose to not be able to feel it or to feel every single thing. Now, a lot of people would choose to not feel it and just be unconscious of what's really going on and just go like, ah, da 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 da, la da 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 da, right? But it's like you may do that, right? And because you can't feel yourself getting stabbed, the technique doesn't really matter. You'll just go across the joint and get stabbed. But what happens if you do that? You don't feel nothing, then you end up bleeding. Opposed to the other guy who could feel everything, and because he feels everything, he learns how to properly walk across this thing with a certain technique and not get stabbed. Now it's like technically he didn't feel any pain because of his technique. Two, he learned a new technique, and three, he's alive at the end. The other dude just didn't feel nothing, but he was still getting stabbed, and he died at the end from bleeding out and stuff like that. And technically, it's like, you feel me? He could have just not felt nothing by developing a certain technique, but he would rather be unconscious and be an autopilot and just let things just la da 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 for him, and not actually be able to feel and accept certain facts that cause him to have to develop certain techniques and plans to operate with inside do situations and everything like that. You feel me? You can't just be autopilot all the time and expect things to just be like, yeah, like no, no, because if you would realize that if you would stop being an autopilot and just become aware and just pay attention to life for once, you start realizing, dang, a lot of stuff. I do a lot of messed up stuff. I be tripping. There's certain things inside my life that shouldn't be there, and it's like I just let it be there because I want to just be a unconscious autopilot bot. And it's like, yeah, and it's like sometimes it's like boom. With certain people, you can act on autopilot, and because you want to act on autopilot and not be a fully aware, rational being, now you can't even interact. You can't even interact with this person properly, because a lot of the time, shoot, they may be inside the impulses, autopilot stuff, and you're supposed to be more aware than them and break certain things down. Or it's like, you feel me? Or sometimes it could be the opposite for you, and it's like they more aware than you, try to break stuff down to you, and you like, dang, what the freak? But you want to accept the autopilot this and not accept what they saying, and you. Long story short, though, because I don't, you feel me? You get the point. I don't gotta do all the explaining. We already seen the Matrix movie. For the ones who didn't, somebody becomes aware they're inside the Matrix. They're like, oh my God, I'd rather eat the steak that I know is not really steak. I want to go back inside the Matrix. I want to be an autopilot bot because the truth is too hard to accept, and that's what it is for most people. Most people have a truth inside their life that they don't want to accept. So because they don't want to accept it and look at it, they'd rather be an autopilot and just let their impulses and just take the wheel and just fly around in life like it's all okay. But it's not all okay. And then when bad things happen, happen, it was just meant to happen and stuff like that. They had no control. They had no way to possibly prevent certain things inside their life. And it's like, yeah. And then those same people would be like, it was meant to happen. They'd be like, oh my God, but why was it meant to happen? I'm so mad. You had a choice. You just want to be on autopilot because the truth is kind of hard to accept. I get it. I've been there before, but you gotta accept the truth and look at the facts of your life and just stop being on autopilot and just letting things happen. Like, nah, autopilot should not be a freaking defense mechanism. If you're gonna be an autopilot, be aside autopilot because it just naturally happened, and now you have the chance to stop being an autopilot. But don't just be like, you know what? I don't want to drive. I don't feel like looking at things. I don't feel like thinking. I don't feel like driving. Autopilot, impulsive character being, take the wheel. We're not doing that. Autopilot most of the time is a freaking defense mechanism.